Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dhammang saranang gacchami, Sanghang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami. So welcome, Dhamma friends, to this Wednesday evening Sutta class. So tonight we are going over again another Sutta from the Anguttara Nikaya, the book of the eights. And this is in the great chapter. And it's this discourse occurred in a village called Veranja. And again, it's kind of a dialogue between the Buddha and a Brahmin. So there's quite a lot of suttas that are, take place and dialogues, discussions between Brahmins and the Buddha. Because the Brahmins were very much, stuck in their ancient beliefs, and the Buddha was a kind of a revolutionary who was kind of challenging some of these beliefs that were just brought down through tradition and passed on from teacher to student. And just sort of accepted on faith, but without any, let's say, genuine proof or so on. But anyway, so there was this one Brahmin in this village of Veranja who came to the Buddha and exchanged the pleasant greetings with him. And then he said to the Buddha, says, I have heard, Master Gautama, the ascetic Gautama does not pay homage to Brahmins who are old, aged, burdened with years, advanced in life, Brahmins who have come to their last stage of life, nor does he stand up for them or offer them a seat. And he says, I've heard that, but this is indeed true because I have seen it also, that Master Gautama does not pay homage and so on to the Brahmins who are simply old and gray-haired, advanced in life. And he says, this is not proper, Master Gautama. So he's sort of criticizing the Buddha for not following the established traditions of honoring the elders, the elder Brahmins, because the Brahmins considered themselves to be the higher castes and everybody kind of else below them. And so But even within the Brahmin caste, the younger Brahmins, pay homage to the elders. And of course, even in our own Western tradition, right? I mean, even within family, we respect elders who are older than us, and people that we can learn from, to a certain extent, as long as they are, worthy of that, let's say, or and so on. We can appreciate, their age and wisdom. So the Buddha replies to this Brahmin. He said, Brahman, in the world with its devas, Mara, and Brahma, in this population with humans and with Brahmins and ascetics, I do not see any one person that I should pay homage to, nor for whom I should stand up for, or whom I should offer a seat. For if the Buddha should pay homage to anyone or stand up for him or offer him a seat, even that person's head would split. So, on first take, if we heard somebody talking like that, even in our normal society, we'd say, oh, this person's puffed up, full of ego or so. So, people thought that the Buddha was speaking like that. But actually, the Buddha made this statement because he was coming from a totally different place. And because the Buddha was talking from the Aryan birth standpoint. And just, the Buddha never accepted that just because of birth or caste doesn't make you a Brahmin. And or just the age doesn't make you worthy of respect. But the Buddha based his criterion on, let's say, in the within the Buddhist order, those who have gone forth from the family life into the order of monks and nuns, but even more importantly, those who have attained the stages of stream winning, once returning, never returning, in the Arhat stage. That means birth in the Aryan, what is called Aryan birth. So the Aryan Sangha is considered somebody who's at least attained the first stage of enlightenment, or what we call the Sotapanna. So the Buddha is coming from that point of view. And of course, the Buddhists, most of the Brahmins in that day, they know nothing about it. And, they base all of their teachings mainly on just what is passed down by oral tradition or the texts from teacher to student, but based on these sort of mundane things. How many hymns from the Vedas they can recite, or some other criterion, but the Buddha was coming from a different set of values. The Aryan birth, not the date of birth of the physical body, that wasn't so important for the Buddha, but the date of the Aryan birth, when a person has entered the stream and has become one destined for enlightenment, where the mind cannot turn back. So that's the rest of this this sutta and the categories that the Buddha is going to be talking about is coming from that point of view, from that perspective. And he gives a little simile at the end, but I'll mention that at the end of the sutta. And so after the Buddha said that, if I should respect anybody, their head would split open. That doesn't mean the Buddha is going to do that. It would just mean the weight of their mind couldn't handle knowing that their mind was much more contracted and still caught in delusion. And anyway, whether that's true or not, the person's head split open, we don't know. It could have just been a matter of, a matter of speech, how people sometimes talk, people say, I want to kill you, but they don't really mean it, right? So he said a person's head might split open, but anyway, the Buddha having said that, this Brahmin then says, Master Gautama lacks taste. That's not tasteful, what you said about the Brahmins, And so this is the Buddha's reply to how he lacks taste. He said, there is, Brahman, a way in which one could rightly say of me, the ascetic Gautama lacks taste. And the Tathagata, he says the Tathagata instead of the Buddha or me, but the Tathagata has abandoned his taste for forms, his taste for sounds, odors, actual taste as well, and tactile objects. He has cut it off at the root, made it like a palm tree stump, obliterated, so it is no longer more subject to future arising. It is in this way one could rightly say of me, the ascetic Gautama lacks taste. He's saying he lacks taste, the taste for sensual enjoyments. In other words, he no longer attracted and gets his kicks off of having pleasurable things to eat or smell or taste or feel and so on. He's lost his taste for indulgence or his taste for trying to titillate his senses to get some enjoyment out of these things, because he has seen firsthand how, indulgence in those actually diminishes the inherent happiness and freedom of consciousness. So, and then the Buddha further tells him, but you did not speak with reference to this, really. And then this this Brahmin says, Master Gautama is not convivial. Now, this word convivial is an English translation, of course, but even I had to go to the dictionary to find out exactly what it means. But mainly it means wanting to associate with pleasurable forms, sounds, smells, tastes, being friendly. I guess you could say it's convivial is a word that kind of means something like being friendly toward. So you stop becoming friends with forms, sounds, odors, tastes, and tactile objects, and so on. Cozying up to them and wanting their companionship. And then this person further accuses the Buddha for saying, Master Gautama is a proponent of non-doing. And that means not wanting to do anything, or not because he doesn't want to join with the regular society and so on, that and do a lot of things except for teaching, of course. So he proposes non-doing. And then he says, there is a way, Brahman, in which one could rightly say of me that I'm a proponent of non-doing. For I assert the non-doing of unskillful actions of body, speech, and mind. That means would be like, breaking the precepts and so on. I assert the non-doing of numerous kinds of bad, unwholesome deeds. It is in this way one could rightly say of me, the ascetic Gautama is a proponent of non-doing. And then he says, Master Gautama is an annihilationist. And because the Buddha talked about attaining Nibbana and about transcending the self, getting rid of the self, and talking about there is no self. The self is an illusion. And of course, the supreme self is the main tenet of the Brahmins. And so he was kind of, when the Buddha was talking about no self, they thought he was trying to destroy the supreme self, or in their view, the Godhead or whatever, or trying to annihilate the individual being, to terminate the rebirth and so on. And so the Buddha replies to him, yeah, there is a way which one could rightly say of me that I'm an annihilationist. For I assert the annihilation of lust, hatred, and delusion. I assert the annihilation of the numerous kinds of bad, unwholesome qualities. So basically, it's kind of the same thing, the non-doing and the annihilation. He just these are just different words to highlight the same accusation that the Buddha was against everything, where in fact the Buddha was only against things that bring suffering. He wasn't against doing things that bring happiness and so on. And then he accuses the Buddha of being a repeller. That means he doesn't like social contacts. He shuns foolish people and frivolous speech. So whenever people come around and start speaking about the foolish things or acting foolish, he shuns them. He tells them to go away, or he goes away. He doesn't engage in social kind of things that the ordinary people did. So he's repelled by anything in that nature. But again, he says, yeah, there's one way in which I'm a repeller, for I'm repelled by bodily and verbal and mental misconduct. So again, it always comes back to the bodily, mental, and verbal misconduct. That means negative actions based on greed, hatred, and delusion. All the forms of the 10, unwholesome types of deeds that the Buddha is a non-doer of, is an annihilationist of, is a repeller of, or is an abolitionist. Because the next one is that, he accuses the Buddha of being an abolitionist. And he says, yes, I'm an abolitionist. I teach the abolition of lust, hatred, and delusion. I teach the Dhamma for the abolition of the numerous kinds of bad, unwholesome qualities. And then he accuses the Buddha of being a tormentor. Whatever that might mean, a torment. He torments others by, not giving in to their foolish actions or beliefs, and always, telling them to, they should purify their actions of body, speech, and mind, and, not indulge in, these various unskillful types of actions. So he thinks he's tormenting people. Or he torments himself by denying himself any enjoyment. So he tells the monk, they can't eat at night, they can't have sex, they can't indulge in luxurious things, and you can't accumulate money and things like that. So he thinks he's tormenting his disciples or others by telling them they shouldn't indulge in that. And then again he says, yeah, I'm a tormentor. I say that someone is a tormentor when he has abandoned the unwholesome qualities. So he torments greed, hatred, and delusion. That means he fights against them and abolishes them. So he torments them by not giving in to the urges for greed, hatred, and delusion. So these are all kind of just symbolic or analogies, these different categories and words that are being used, but they all come back to the exact same thing about overcoming greed, hatred, and delusion, and all the kinds of negative thoughts and speech that bring suffering. And then lastly, he says, well, Master Gautama is retiring. I guess he means retiring from life. And he says, yeah, there is a way, Brahmin, which one could rightly say of me. I have retired from greed, hatred, and delusion. I've retired from all the bad, unwholesome qualities and actions that give rise to suffering. And then he, as a constant refrain to all these, he says, I've abandoned the production of renewed existence, the future bed of the womb, when he has cut it off at the root, made it like a palm stump. Palm trees, if they're cut off at the base, they don't grow back again like so many other trees. If you cut down an oak tree or any other kind of normal trees, a new shoot will rise up from the root, not necessarily a seed, but from the root. But in a palm tree, once you cut off that, it doesn't grow any more branches or leaves. So that's a common refrain when the Buddha talks about he's cut off the root of greed, hatred, and delusion, making it like a palm stump. So it is no longer subject to future, re-arising. And then the Buddha gives this nice simile. He says about how, the Buddha didn't rise up for Brahmins that are older than him because he's considered the oldest in the Aryan birth. And so this little analogy of the chicken sitting on eggs is helps to kind of explain that. So he says, suppose, Brahmin, there was a hen with 8, 10, or 12 eggs that she had properly covered, sat on, incubated, and nurtured. And so the first of the chicks to pierce its shell, usually when a bird or chick is in the shell, they break it with their beak, the baby embryo inside the shell, breaks the shell with their little beak and comes out. So the first chick to pierce its shell with the points of its claws or beak and safely hatch, he should be called the eldest, or he's asking the Brahmin, should it be called the eldest or the youngest? And the Brahmin says, well, it should be called the eldest, Master Gautama. because it's the eldest. It was the first one to break out of its shell. And then the Buddha gives this very nice answer. He says, so too, Brahmin, in a population immersed in ignorance, people's minds have become like an egg, completely enveloped with ignorance, with the shell of ignorance. I have pierced that shell of ignorance. I am the sole person in the world who has awakened to the unsurpassed perfect enlightenment. So I am the eldest, the best in the world. Of course, again, that sounds like a very egotistical statement, but in talking about the mind, there's a lot of truth to that. But anyway, so that, because when the Buddha was, brought up there in India at the time, just all this Brahmin doctrines was, and other spurious kind of doctrines, were rampant at the time, and the true Dhamma was not around. And so the Buddha, you read his story, he left all of his former ascetics and teachers and went off on his own, and then he attained enlightenment. So he was the first person, at least in that area of the time, to come up with this new Dhamma, to pierce the shell of the ego delusion. So that's the meaning of it. And then the Buddha continues, my energy, Brahman, was aroused without slackening. My mindfulness was established without confusion. My body was tranquil without disturbance. The mind was concentrated and one-pointed. And then he goes through, I'm not going to read all of that, but he goes through saying that he attained, the first, and second, third, and the fourth jhana, developing those jhana factors, and so on. And then after attaining the first jhana, he said, when my mind was thus concentrated, purified, cleansed, rid of defilement, steady, I directed the knowledge to the recollection of past lives. So then he goes along to explain how he remembered his past lives and how he directed it and saw how other beings were born and being reborn according to their karma. After he saw how he himself had been born and reborn according to his karma for many hundreds, thousands of lives, he saw how other people were also doing it. And then the third knowledge is he came to the penetration of the Four Noble Truths. And so then he says, this Brahman was the third true knowledge attained by me in the last watch of the night, on the night of his enlightenment. Ignorance was dispelled. True knowledge had arisen. Darkness was dispelled. Light had arisen. This Brahman was my third breaking out, like that of the chick breaking out of the eggshell. So you could say that, the breaking out was gradual, the breaking out into the first jhana, breaking out into the second jhana, the third jhana, the fourth jhana. And then breaking out into those knowledges, the knowledge of past lives and the knowledge of karma and so on. And then finally the knowledge of, the enlightenment. So that was his gradual breaking out of the eggshell. So when the Buddha finished saying all that, the Brahmin then said, the Brahmin of Veranja said to the Blessed One, Master Gotama is the eldest. Master Gotama is the best. Excellent Master Gotama. He has explained the Dhamma in many ways. And then he goes to refuge to the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha from today as one who has gone for refuge for a life. And that's the way that many suttas to these Brahmins had ended once the Buddha explained the Dhamma in that way. So, that was the main point in this sutta. Was to point out, okay, in conventional reality, we, should respect and honor, people that are older than us and do service for them, especially like one's parents and so on, or others that you learn from. But in the the spiritual tradition, or within the Buddhist order, it's focusing on, it's respecting the age of seniority, the people that have dedicated their life toward developing the Dhamma, developing themselves, and ideally, helping to share it with others who are not just living the life just for themselves and to be eat, drink, and be merry, and just to do whatever one wants, but to dedicate the life on the noble path to enlightenment. So we respect the people with that kind of age, seniority, but especially if they are practicing the Dhamma. But anyway, so it was mainly to wake up these Brahmins, because they were so fixated on this idea that the Brahmins were the highest caste, and one is a Brahmin just by birth of the physical body. But in the Buddhist teaching, an Aryan birth is the birth of the Sotapanna. When a person reaches Sotapanna, he is then born in the Aryan birth. And his age starts at that point, really, when the mind is, bound for enlightenment, not subject to going backwards. So, the Buddha just wanted to point out to these Brahmins that there's a different way of looking at that whole idea about respect and having these, conventional norms and so on is one thing, but, one should understand the deeper level of that as well. And then, then the Buddha got it. I mean, this Brahmin got it, right? After the Buddha having explained all these things, the Brahmin got it and said, oh, yes, thanks for, turning on the light where there was darkness. This Brahmin had no idea of, these deeper aspects of the Buddhist teaching. Or he might have, heard some of these things passed down in Brahmin tradition about the psychic powers and other things, but he'd never seen anybody who had them, or anybody who claimed to, have that kind of really enlightenment. But the Buddha, pointed out that path that no, it's possible. Anyway, so that's the sutta. Now, if anybody has any questions based on that, you can write them down in the chat room. Let me see if there's something here. Okay, this one kind of question. Even in the Sangha of monks and nuns, is it not the seniority or age, the criterion that is used to pay respect and homage? Yes, that is one of them, but not the only one. And out of etiquette and protocol, and also as a means of humbling people, to making them humble. So a young monk, he might think, oh, I'm more enlightened than this older monk, so he might be a little bit proud and boastful. Well, he might be deluded, maybe he's not, but he might think he is. Or maybe, maybe he is, but still they would pay their respects to them just out of respect for the, that they had, joined the order at an earlier age. Now, in the Brahmin tradition, it wasn't just the Brahmin monks that were practicing this, just Brahmins in general, even if they were just lay people, an old man, not necessarily even religious, that, that people should pay deference to them just based on their age. So it wasn't necessarily just the Brahmin, all Brahmins are not religious people that they like to think they are, but or they are on a superficial level, but they're not necessarily, they're not renunciants or monks necessarily. So that's one thing. But in some suttas, the Buddha refers to himself as Tathagata, and in others he refers to himself as I, me, like in the sutta. Is there any significance to this difference? The significance is that the Buddha used conventional language when it was appropriate. Now, if you went around to people he didn't know, or just all the time saying, oh, the Buddha went over there, and people say, he did? Oh. Or, the Buddha said that, and they didn't know that he was the Buddha. That they might think, oh, what like, so he said, I. Sometimes he used the term I or me in conventional speech, just to make for an easier communication. But he wasn't deluded by it. He knew that this idea of I or me is just a conventional usage of speech, and is not referring necessarily to using it in this egoistic sense, because in his mind is that sense of I and me is not really there in the mind. The mind is on a radically different dimension in terms of that its experience of consciousness. So yeah, sometimes he might have used the word I and me in talking in general things, but at other times he said the Tathagata teaches this and this, when he was talking about maybe the Buddha's teaching, but he was talking on maybe a personal level. Like somebody said, oh, are you going out to, are you going to go on alms today? He might have said, yeah, I'm going to be going out today in the morning, or I'm going to go visit this monk and the sick monk or there. So he might have used it in that kind of ordinary conversation. But when he's talking, like preaching the Dhamma, he says, that the Tathagata, teaches these things. Because it wasn't his, that means he wasn't thinking that he was unique in that. What the Buddha taught, the Buddha just rediscovered what the Tathagatas, even from the ancient days, had discovered and taught, that was passed down. So it wasn't like he was coming from him. He said right in the very first sutta, that I've simply rediscovered the ancient path. To enlightenment that was discovered, millenniums before by previous Buddhas and so on. But it just become obscure, like a path in the jungle had been overgrown with jungle, and the path to a certain place was no longer visible. But then somebody comes by and he notices some footprints, and he starts clearing away some stuff, and then he rediscovers this path. So that's what the Buddha did. This is the next question. Does this mean that Gautama Buddha attained enlightenment through the jhanas? I had also heard of attaining enlightenment through the Brahma Viharas. Are there any other ways? Brahma Viharas are jhanas too. People make this big distinction. No. You can attain enlightenment if you attain the Brahma Viharas, but you have to attain them and attain the jhanas with them. The Brahma Viharas are simply a meditation subject, just as watching your breath or focusing your mind on a red circle. So you practice the Brahma Viharas, the method, but you can attain the first, second, third, and fourth jhanas by practicing that. Or sometimes they make distinctions. Well, with metta, you can only attain the first jhana. But if you go through the rest of them, and attain the fourth jhana, that itself is, has the equanimity in it. You can attain the fourth jhana with the Brahma Vihara of equanimity. And equanimity is the hallmark of the third and the fourth jhanas. So yes, you attain the jhanas, but you can attain it through the practicing the Brahma Viharas. Or you can practice it through cultivating the 7 factors of enlightenment. See, this idea that to attain jhanas, this idea that people have to just take a certain meditation object and just focus on it till everything else is blotted out of their mind, and all of a sudden they're in a first jhana, and then they go to a second, third, and fourth jhana. That is misleading, and that's where a lot of this confusion arises. You can even attain the jhanas while practicing mindfulness, in the 4 foundations of mindfulness. Because in the Dhammanupassana, the 7 factors of enlightenment are one of the objects of the Dhammanupassana, the practice of mindfulness. And in that, I've already given talks on this before and mentioned it many times, that you attain concentration while developing insight. Because as you're developing the insight, you're letting go of greed, hatred, and delusion, and the attachment to things. And by doing that, you attain the jhana. That means the one-pointed state of mind. And again, one-pointedness doesn't mean totally absorbed in one object, oblivious to everything else. No, that's a misconception. One could, if one wants to practice that certain type, especially the formless jhanas. But, that's not the only way to do that. So, so anyway, this question says, is there any other ways to attain enlightenment? Yeah, by practicing the 4 foundations of mindfulness. That at the very outset of the 4 foundations of mindfulness, the Buddha says this is the direct way. Attaining in jhanas by absorbing into a light kasina or the earth kasina, that's going around, beating around the bush. You got to come back and develop insight based on that. Instead, you can go directly in through the practice of the 4 foundations of mindfulness. And you attain jhanas while practicing the mindfulness, because you're developing one-pointedness of mind. That means the mind is as sustained, applied and sustained thought toward the body, applied and sustained thought toward feeling, applied and sustained thought toward mind states, applied and sustained thought toward all the categories and groups of the contemplation of the Dhamma, and developing a piti and the sukha and, that comes along with that. So those are the main ways, and practicing anapanasati. In the practice of anapanasati, you have to develop insight into anicca, dukkha, and anatta while practicing anapanasati too. And you gain the jhanas through that. So anyway, So, basically, within the Theravada tradition, there are 40 subjects of meditation. Now, some of them lead to the attainment of jhanas, and some of them don't, like the meditation on death itself, or contemplation of sila and some other buddhanusati and some other kind of things lead to, access concentration, or maybe the first jhana, but not going further because there's too much sort of discursive thought within some of those contemplations. But certainly in practicing mindfulness and practicing anapanasati, or practicing the Brahma Viharas, but you attain the jhana through practicing those, and you've got to attain the jhana to attain the stream entry, or at least the first jhana. Of course, there's some debate about that with some teachers, but anyway, at least access concentration. But anyway, the hindrances have to be weakened so that the insight, the deeper insight, can arise. Okay, is there any other questions? Does anybody want to ask a question based on any of that? Just through the microphones. Okay, friends, and if there's no other questions, and let's take a few minutes break, and then come back and have a few little stretches to get ready for our meditation. Okay? I don't know if that screen is very clear. I'm not sure about the lighting. Okay. So just try to stand straight. Relax your shoulders and arms at the sides. Feel the feet pressing the floor. And begin some deep, slow breathing, or three-part breathing. Just drawing the air from the lower lungs up through the middle to the top of the lungs, holding the air in for 2 or 3 seconds, and slowly breathing out. Just bringing your mind into the body. And the next in-breath, raise the arms over the head, interlock the fingers, turn the palms up, straighten the arms, stretch the head back, bend back a little bit. On the out-breath, turn the palms down, touch the top of the head. Again, in-breath, palms up, straighten the arms, head back, bend back. Out breath, touch the head. On the third time, hold that upward stretch longer. Release the fingers, and the out breath, arms back to the sides. Relax, close the eyes. Feel the increased sensation in your hands and fingers. Feel the touch of clothing on your arms. Just remember standing, standing, standing. Just letting go of your thoughts, just keeping the mind focused in and on the body. It's the present moment. Just feeling the sensations. And the next in-breath, push up on the toes while raising the arms over the head. In this way, facing the hands toward each other and stretch up. Out breath, come back down. Arms to the side, heels to the floor. Use the breath to help lift and lower the body. In-breath up. Out. Once more, in. Out. Just relax. Just gently close the eyes. Try to feel increased internal sensations. Hear the increased heartbeat, pulsations. The clothes touching the skin on different places, itchy feelings, prickling sensations. The more purely physical vibrations you can notice, the less time for your mind to get lost in unnecessary thoughts or distraction. Next, we'll do knee bending. On an in-breath, again, lift up on the toes and raise the arms up front for balance. On the out-breath, bend the knees and lower down, balancing on the balls of the feet. And deep breath to push up, all the way up on the toes. Out. In. Out. Out breath, relax. I don't know if that extra light improved it or not. Just keep feeling the body. Just remind yourself of standing, standing. Now, spread the feet apart, at least 3 feet, the wider the better. Hold the arms out. We'll do the twisting from side to side. Breathe in. On the out breath, look to the right and twist to the right. On the out breath, keep your eyes focused on the hand going back. The in breath, come back to the front. Let the feet turn a little bit with the body. And then out breath, the other side. In breath, front. Just continue that, alternating sides with the breathing. Out breath, twisting back. In breath, back to the front. Again, the other side. Once more to each side. In breath to front. And relax. Feel each foot pressing the floor. Feel the clothing touching the body. Feel the head balanced on top. Feel prickling, itching sensation. Okay, now we'll do forward and backward bending. Be careful with the back bends. When you come up from a back bend, there could be some body shaking or even a sense of maybe dizziness or feeling like you're going to black out. So just don't bend back too far the first time. So let the hands touch the front of the legs. Breathe in. On the out breath, bend forward. Let the hands come to your kneecaps. First time, keep the head up, looking out straight ahead, try to flatten the spine. Keep the arms and the legs straight. In breath, lift up. Move the hands under the buttocks for support. Let the head go back. The out breath, gently bend backwards, not too far. Keep the eyes open, look up at the ceiling. In breath, carefully lift up. Be aware of the sensations. And the next out breath again. Going forward, let the hand come down below the knees. About halfway, still keep the head up. Flatten the spine. In breath. And again, the back bend, out breath. Try to bend back a little farther. Be careful. In breath, up. And the third time, the out breath, let the hands come down as far as you can toward the feet. And then hold that position longer, keeping the legs straight. And feel the stretch in the back of the legs, the hamstring muscles. And an in-breath, lifting up. And once more, the back bend, out breath. In-breath, lift up. Now the out-breath, just relax. You feel any kind of shaking in the body. Feel all the sensations. Feel each foot pressing the floor, the hands at the sides, clothing touching the skin on different places, the head on top. Feel your face, the present moment of this body, exactly as it is. Coming grounded and centered in the present moment of the body is really the first stage of any deeper meditation. And now bring the legs and feet back together. One last exercise, the head turning. So just standing straight. On an in-breath, turn the head to the right. Try to look over your right shoulder. Turn your eyes to the right. Try to look at something kind of behind you a little bit. On the in-breath, turn the head 180 degrees back to the left. To look over the left shoulder, turn the eyes to the left. In-breath back to the right. Just concentrate into the neck vertebrae, feeling or imagining them loosening up. And out breath back to the left. In breath to the right. Out breath left. On the in breath, let the head stop in the center. Feel the whole body vibrating, pulsating. Try to feel the body as though you were standing on a vibrating machine. The body vibrating with that increased oxygenated blood and cellular charging. Standing. Okay, so we'll now come back to our seats and get ready for the meditation, sitting meditation. Okay, friends, again, I'm going to turn off my video for this guided meditation. Try to sit straight, keeping the back and the head in a straight line. Try to find the center of gravity, the kind of tipping point of the head and spine, where it could either tip forwards or backwards. Now bring the attention down to feel where the buttocks press the seat. Feel that weight of the body pressing the seat. Feel that solid contact. Try to feel the right and the left buttock. Feel some sensations, that pressure, the body pressing the seat. Just remind yourself of sitting. Now moving the attention down the legs, over the knees, down into the feet and toes. Just feel the feet and toes. Feel where the socks touch the skin of the feet. Might feel the heels first. Pulsation in the heels. And the toes. Just try to isolate this outline of the feet in the mind's eye. Just feel all those little subtle sensations on the surface of the skin or within the, underneath the skin. Feel where the feet touch the floor, where the toes touch each other. You just remind yourself of sitting. Now move the attention up to feel your hands and fingers, where they rest on your legs or where one hand rests on the other. Try to feel the outline of your thumbs and fingers. To feel the subtle pulsation of blood or other sensations. Just remember sitting. His hands are on the sitting body. Now feel the weight of the arms hanging from the shoulders. Relax the shoulders. Feel where the clothing touches the skin of the shoulders, arms. Feel all those different little sensations. Again, just sitting. sitting, and now to feel the outer neck, and try to feel inside the throat, any sensation of wanting, need to cough or swallow. Or any throat irritation. And now feel the lower jaw. And feel the teeth and gums in the lower jaw and out to the point of the chin. Try to feel the tongue laying in the mouth, where the tongue touches any teeth. Just feel the raw sensation. And feel the lips touching together. The lower lip touches the upper lip. Feel a sensation of dryness or moistness in the lip. Now try to feel the skin stretched over the face. Face skin stretched over the skull. Kind of feeling of tightness of the skin stretched over the skull, the forehead, the nose, the chin, cheeks. Feel a little different sensations. Sort of like just watching, looking at the face from the inside. And actually, I'll try to feel the eyes and the socket. And the eyelids stretched over the eyeballs. There might be some light or color, or patterns or an image. You might feel the subtle eye movements, the blood pulsing, the capillaries of the eyes or eyelids. Just gazing at the eye with the mental eye, the eye of awareness. Now from that point behind the eyes, just let the awareness kind of just open up to try to feel the outline of the whole body. That sense of the legs and feet underneath, the buttocks pressing the seat underneath, the arms and hands in the middle. Clothing touching the skin in different places, and the head balanced on top. You should be able to kind of feel that outline of the whole body in the mind's eye. Just try to hold that outline of the sitting body in the mind's eye. Just remembering sitting, sitting, sitting. Then begin some deep, slow breathing. If you know the three-part breathing, drawing the air from the lower lung up through the middle to the upper chest, holding the air in the lungs for 2 or 3 or 4 seconds. Feel that subtle oxygenation of the blood and feel the relaxing contraction of the out breath, feeling the last bit of air go out of the lung. Start to take several more deep, slow breaths like that, cultivating this basic mindfulness. Breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, sitting here and now. Breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, sitting here and now. Breathing in, feeling the whole body. Breathing out, feeling the whole body. We're going to count the breaths from 1 to 10 to develop a better concentration. Try to continue to take deeper, regulated breaths if you can. Helps you to stay concentrated. With the next expanding in breath, mentally count to 1. Feel the pause. With the contracting out breath, also count to 1. The next in breath, 2. The out breath, 2. In breath, 3. Out breath, 3. In breath, 4. Out breath, 4. In breath, 5. Out breath, 5. In breath, 6. Out breath, 6. In breath, 7. Out breath, 7. In breath, 8. Out breath, 8. In breath, 9. Out breath, 9. In breath, 10. Out breath, 10. Now discontinue the counting. Discontinue any deep or controlled breathings. Let the breathing return to its shorter or uncontrolled rhythm. But continue to feel it. Keep the mind focused there in the center of the body to feel the residual or lighter expanding and contracting sensations. Make that the primary focus, your concentrated awareness. Try to feel the 4 phases of the breathing. The incoming breath, the brief pause, the outgoing breath, the brief pause. Just try to feel where the clothing rubs against the skin of the stomach, rib cage, or chest. As it expands and contracts. And just knowing when the breath is coming in and knowing when the breath is going out. You know it by feeling it, feeling the subtle sensation. If you want to continue to count again from 1 to 10 to help concentrate, you can do that again on your own. Just simply try to maintain that continuous awareness in sitting, out, sitting, breath by breath, moment by moment, developing concentrated awareness of the breathing body. Breathing in, sitting, breathing out, sitting, cultivating applied and sustained attention to the breathing process. During the brief pauses between the breaths, feel the outline of the sitting body. This breathing is occurring within the larger sitting body. Just try to have that idea that you're a scientist sitting in the laboratory. This breathing body is the laboratory, looking down through the microscope of concentrated awareness to notice the subtler sensation of the breathing process or any other subtle sensations you notice in and around the breathing body. But at the same time, be alert for thoughts trying to sneak in, steal the attention away. If you catch your mind getting caught up in thoughts, recognize it as thinking. Gently let go of the thoughts. Take a deeper breath, bring the mind back into the body to get re-grounded, centered in the body. Just coming back to in, sitting, out, sitting. We're counting the breath. In between the breaths, also check the posture. Keep the chin lifted up, level to the floor. Maintain the head and spine in a straight line. Breathing in, sitting. Breathing out, sitting. This breathing body is the lifeline connection to the present moment. One of the main purposes of developing mindfulness of breathing is to get the attention grounded, concentrated on the present moment. And to observe the subtler sensations or thoughts that are coming and going within the present moment awareness. There's two things always going on in this body-mind process. The stream of physical sensation and the stream of our thoughts, mental images, perception. Just keep turning up the power of the mental microscope. It's non-distracted awareness. To notice subtler, finer, detailed sensations. Coming and going in the body. Being alert also for subtler urges and thoughts or ideas popping up in the mind. you find the mind totally lost in thoughts, recognize it as lost, lost. Find the body sitting on the floor or chair. Take a deep, slow breath. Bring the mind back into the body, to the present moment. In, sitting, out, out, sitting. If we lose this connection to the breathing body, and the mind either falls half asleep or gets lost in its thoughts and distractions. That connection to this breathing body is the life preserver, lifeline to the present moment. It's the natural connection to the present moment. From the moment you were born, the moment you die, this breathing body has been your only constant connection to the present moment, the only trustworthy touchstone to the present moment. Everything else is unreliable. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. The breathing body is always there, just beneath your nose. Parallel dimension of present moment awareness. The knowing faculty. Breathing in, sitting, breathing out, sitting. Sensations come and go. Perceptions and thoughts come and go. Sounds come and go. Sleepiness comes and goes. These are all just a constant flow of change and impermanence through this body and mind. Just underneath all of that change, or mental drowsiness or chaos, just the parallel dimension of the now, of present moment awareness. Connected to the breathing body. If we lose that connection to the breathing body, the mind gets easily carried away and drowned in its own wandering, neurotic thoughts, carried away by pains, memories. Or goes to sleep. And let's cultivate this constant connection to the breathing body. We carry it around with us 24/7, 365. We might as well make the best use of it to help stay grounded in the present moment, which is the starting point for any deeper awareness and meditation, insight. So what perceptions or thoughts arise in the mind based on that sound contact? Sambe sankara anicchati yada panyaya pasati atane bindati dukkhi esamago visuddhiya. All conditioned things, the five aggregates of this body, mind, and world are impermanent. They arise only to change and vanish. When one sees this with the eye of wisdom, one becomes disenchanted with suffering. This is the path to purity, to freedom. And thus spoke the Buddha. Now spend the last few minutes of the meditation sending out thoughts and radiations of metta, friendliness, best wishes toward our own body and mind and all other beings. So again, take some more deep, slow breaths. And after really filling up the lungs, hold the air in the lungs for several seconds to imagine or feel that sensations of the oxygenating blood, or kind of just imagine that as being metta going out to tranquilize the cells of the body and mind. And on the out breath, feel that relaxation of the out breath. Just take several deep, slow breaths like that, imagining that oxygenated blood going out to the body and mind as being metta, sending metta, relaxing, peaceful sensations to your body and mind, cultivating this basic mindfulness. May I be well, peaceful and wise. May I be free from greed, hatred, fear, and ignorance, the pains and sufferings that come about because of such unskillful thought, speech, and action. May I have the patience, strength, mindfulness, and wisdom to meet and overcome all difficulties in life. May I be able to continue to deepen my understanding of the Dhamma and practice of meditation to help free the mind from confusion and suffering. May I be well, peaceful, and wise. And try to continue taking some deep, slow breaths, holding in the breath, send out these same thought, feelings, vibrations to your parents, family members, and relatives, good friends, even if they've passed away somewhere in samsara. Just as you're holding in the breath and on the out breath, just imagine these waves of metta thoughts and vibrations entering their bodies and minds, making them more peaceful, soothing their fears, worries, anxieties. And gradually extending these thought vibrations out across the whole country and eventually the whole earth and the world. Just with each out breath, just imagine those waves of metta vibrations being pure energy, pure love, pure wisdom, going further and further outwards, tranquilize the atmosphere, soothe the fires of greed, hatred, and delusion in the minds of people, soothing the pains of their suffering. Just with the idea that may all living beings, wherever they might be, visible or invisible, living near or far, young or the old, weak or the strong, may all living beings be well, peaceful, and wise. And all beings have the patience, strength, mindfulness, and wisdom to meet and overcome all difficulties in life. May all beings be able to hear the teachings of the Dhamma and to practice meditation to help free their minds from confusion and suffering. May all beings be well, peaceful, and wise. May all beings be well, peaceful, and wise. It's like a mantra reverberating throughout space. Well, peaceful, and wise. Now, in the meditation, I invite you to chant the word sadhu 3 times slowly. We do the chanting on a long out breath. If you like, you can place the hands together at the chest and breathe in deeply. Sadhu. Now place the hands at the edge of the knees. And one more deep breath. Stretch your head back. Pull the hands against the knees to help arch the spine backwards. Hold it a few moments. And lift the head up on an in-breath, and on the out-breath, press the chin to the top of the chest to stretch the neck vertebra. In the in-breath, lift the head up level. On the out-breath, relax. Put a smile on your face. Okay, friends, so this brings our evening meditation to an end, and wish you all the best in this next week. And hopefully the political landscape, especially here in America, will calm down in the next week. Who knows? But hopefully our metta vibrations will help, calm the atmosphere a little bit. Well, if not outside, at least within our own minds, not to let whatever things are happening, disturb you, knowing that all these things just come and go and it will pass. Things will calm down again. So anyway, I wish you all the best. Mindfulness a day keeps dukkha away, and Sutta a day keeps delusion away.